Good evening, everyone. We're so happy to have you join us tonight for our beginning of week 2 of the Obsidian Theater Festival. My name is Saray Daniels, and I am the Arts Education Coordinator for the Sister Cities program, which we are in the midst of right now. I have the pleasure tonight of introducing two of my favorite people. My co-workers, our CEO, John Sloan, and our AP, Alexis Sims. They are here tonight to discuss Black Bodies in Entertainment, what that means, and also the audition process, and give their take on how to improve your audition process as a person of color, as a Black person, and just some of the hiccups that they've probably encountered along the way. So without further ado, here they are, Mr. John Sloan and Miss Alexis Sims.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, everyone. How are you? I just want to start by welcoming everybody to this space and thanking Saray, our fantastic art education coordinator. You could be watching us right now on YouTube Live. You could also be watching us right now on our website at obsidianfest.org. And we are just so thrilled and happy to be able to have you here. Again, my name is John Sloan, and I'm the producing artistic director for the Obsidian Theater Festival. And I am grateful to be accompanied by one of my closest friends, our associate AD.
Alexis Sims. Hi. Welcome back. If you all tuned in for week 1, I was sitting down with the playwright of Black Women Are the Moon, Venetia Farrell, and then followed that, with a barriers to entry conversation with two immensely talented gentlemen. So we are happy to have you again. And if you missed us, then don't worry. We have the recordings of those videos available for you on our YouTube, the Ghostlight Productions YouTube, as well as on our website, www.obsidianfest.org/education.
And so what you had the privilege of seeing last week was just a wonderful conversation between Alexis and 3 other really talented artists. The first one, Venetia Farrell, wrote the work that you just saw being rehearsed. So like last week and again today, you're seeing some amazing art that's being created. So what we really wanted to do is make sure that we provided an amazing kind of behind the scenes look at what it takes to put up a piece of work. I don't think it's any surprise to any of you when I say that this is a really weird time to be a theater artist. It's a really difficult time to be a performing artist. But part of what we're doing here at OTF is we are doing our best to create the opportunities for youth to understand a career pipeline. And in doing so, each week, we're rolling out a different segment of the Sister Cities program. Last week and this week, different segments of monologue work and character development with the wonderful Jasmine Richardson, our director for that piece, and MJ Rawls this week, who plays the character of Cleopatra.
Now, if you can't tell already, John loves the word amazing, and he also loves to be verbose. So,
what?
So we're keeping it in the family. We're going to keep it real with y'all, and we're going to dive in now to our part 2 of behind the scenes at OTF, giving you a backstage glimpse at what goes on in the making and the creating of a piece of work. So one of the things that John and I had the chance to do, and we were fortunate enough to do, was to get to interact with a bunch of these amazing artists. Some of that you're amazing. There's the word again. Some of these artists, some of you will see in the behind the scenes, footage for Black Women Are the Moon, and others who you will see performing in the 6 pieces during the festival proper, March 25th through the 27th. So today we did an introduction with the playwright last week. And today we're going to talk a little bit about auditioning, followed by an interview that I did with 2 fantastic casting directors, both of them Black women.
Now, what you may not know is that Alexis and I both started our careers as actors. And so we have been in many a casting room and understand that process from that side of the table. What was different and interesting, and I'll start here with both of us, is being on the other side, being the person casting, being the person sending out sides and walking through callbacks, kind of reframed a whole lot of my experience. I don't know about you, but it reframed a whole lot of my experiences as an actor. So for those of you that aren't in the theater industry, when you get called in for an audition, oftentimes you walk in and you're given pieces of a script called a side. And so maybe you've come in advance and you've submitted a monologue. We've come in with your song or portion of a song called the 16 bar. But when you come back for callbacks, they say, hey, read this, and we're going to talk through it. And there's a reader in the room. And for me, I just always found the audition process both fun and frightening at the same time. When you're starting out as an actor, you audition more than you work. And I think you just kind of generally audition more than you work. And so it was a great opportunity for me to get in there and get my feet wet on some new material. What surprised you this time, Alexis? Because I know that it was really interesting for me being shocked and surprised by different elements of this audition process being on the other side of the table.
Yes. So just for all of you tuning in, I'm in New York City and I live right above the train. So if you hear a loud rumble, don't be alarmed. I'm fine. That's just the one train passing by and saying hello to all of you. So as John was saying, the sides are literally excerpts, selections from the script that casting that the production team has given you to kind of get a sense of where you would live inside of the character or where the character would live inside of you. One of the interesting things about this process for me, John, was actually making the selection of what actors would read. So what was interesting about that, or what was amazing about that, was getting to look at a script. So for those of you who don't know, as part of the Obsidian Theater Festival, we sent out a submissions request to playwrights, to actors, directors, etc. Targeting, the upliftment and elevation of new Black voices for the purpose of showing you all, John's word, the panoply of the Black American experience. For those of you who are like me, I had to look up panoply, and basically that just means the breadth and the nuance and all the differences between the lives that we're living. So as a part of these short scripts, they were all supposed to be 60 minutes or less. We picked a really great assortment. And so we called in all of these actors from the Detroit area, as well as across the country, to read. And so my job, the job that John gave me, was to, Alexis, please look at these scripts and pick some sides. And so I was like, what? How do I do that? I don't know. I mean, I'm just being real, guys. There's a first time for everything. Don't be afraid to try something new. So when I was selecting the sides, I was going in and I was looking at the script and I was thinking, well, what sections of the play are going to show us the most about who these characters are and give us the best sense of who an actor could be inside of this role? Some of them were very monologue driven, some of the audition sides, but others weren't. They were really more about testing chemistry, finding nuance and subtlety, and listening. So a lot of the sides that I chose, for many of the characters, they actually didn't talk that much, but they had to be actively participating, as that is just as much a part of acting as is the speaking.
It's interesting because, so first of all, panoply is not like a crazy word that you don't know, so don't sell yourself.
No, I really didn't know what that word meant, John. I had to look it up. Thank God for Google. It's okay.
The reason that I think that's important is because, like, part of OTF is to dispel the myth that there is a monolithic minority, right? And so something that we talk about in our production meetings, and something that I know aggravates me personally, is this idea that Black theater is a subgenre of the broader theater community. And people talk about, all the different aspects of white American theater, and then list Black theater as a smaller portion of, excluding and forgetting or ignoring the fact that inside of Black theater are just as many avenues, are just as many types of expression, are just as many different explications and examples of what it means to be a Black person in this country. Just like there are so many different versions of what Blackness looks like. You're going to see in Alexis and Saray and myself 3 different versions of what Blackness looks like, but those are limiting if you think that that's just what we have to offer. And so when we were really going after these plays, we wanted to make sure that the pieces that we chose showed that breadth. In the same way, we wanted to make sure that the artists that we chose to helm those pieces, the directors, the lighting designers, the actors themselves, also mirrored and showed the breadth of the Black experience. So it was really important to us to be able to walk through that. And that was something that I gladly handed over to Miss Sims as we were looking at. I like to surround myself with people that are smarter than me, and so yeah, it was an easy task. It was, yes, it was an easy task.
John Sloan, touche. So let's just go right on back to that audition process, which is why we're here after all. So now that you know what sides are, one of the things that I enjoyed most about being on the other side of the table, to just, go back to your earlier question, was, in school, we learned that, your job is to audition. Your job is to audition, and the yeses that you get, the gigs that you book, are the bonus. Now, one of the things that they also told us in school, or at least I think they did, John, is that 99% of the time, you booking the job or not booking the job has nothing to do with you. There are so many other factors that are going on, from who we're pairing you with, to where you're located, to what our budget is, to union versus non-union, and where we are in negotiations for those things. I think that's just really important to stress again here, because all of you who are watching, whether you are, in high school or college, or you're an actor 18 plus, 21 plus, that it really is not a no and a yes. They're kind of the same in that there's a lot of different factors being weighed. Now, one of the things that I know is really important to John and I, and this goes to your point, John, about, the breadth of the Black American experience, and us wanting to have a diverse group of actors, directors, artists, writers, etc., to illustrate that, was that we really, I don't know if this is always true for everyone. I don't know if it's because we're a smaller theater festival, like smaller, it's our inaugural year. I don't know if it's because, we are both actors and artists, but we really were interested in, and I guess I'll keep it in the I, John, you can agree or disagree. I was really interested in seeing where the characters lived inside of the actor, as opposed to where the actor lived inside of the character. Now, that's I don't know if you all are familiar with what that means, but essentially there's some places where you're going to go, and you're going to go into a room where they're looking for someone to embody or replicate something that they've seen before. For us, especially because this was new work, and for me particularly, I was interested in bringing who you are, who the actor was, in all of their like fullness, eccentricity, like oddity, weirdness, quirkiness, whatever. But to see how the character lived within them. So what does it look like if, let's say, I, as Alexis, were to say these character words instead of the character saying the words and it's me being the actor? Where do those things meet? And what I would suggest is that, especially based on my conversation in the interview that you're going to see next with the ladies, is that that's really what casting wants to see anyway. They want to see you. They want to see who you are, what you uniquely bring to the part. And it isn't as much of right and wrong as you may think.
Yeah, and what's interesting about that too is, so Alexis and I, while we met in college and while we went to the exact same school and through the exact same undergraduate program, also approached the craft and the work in different ways. That's not better or worse. There's no qualification on that outside of the fact that it's just different, right? And it's based in part of who we are as individuals and part of what our experience has been as we've grown and, gotten older than we were when we were in undergrad. And I think I was surprised at myself at the number of times I walked in to somebody's audition and looked at them and went, great, you're going to be right for this part. Before they even opened their mouth or said anything, whether it was because of the energy that they came into the room with, whether because of the smile they had on their face, there was something about that physicality and that quality. We should also say they didn't walk into any specific room, right? Like all of this was done just like we're having this conversation with you right now via Zoom, which was in and of itself a hurdle and an interesting process. And there were times when the individual's energy, when the actor's energy matched what I thought, right? They walked in and I said, great, I think it'd be perfect for this part. This is something that I think reads really, really well for you. And there were just as many, if not more times when I was surprised, when somebody walked into the room and based upon the way they read a script, based upon the way that they attacked a character and brought that person to life through themselves. I sat there sometime just being floored and in awe of what they were doing and how they shattered my expectation. And then also thinking about the number of times that must have happened when I was walking in the room, or if that did happen when I was walking in the room. 9 times out of 10, Alexis was sitting there telling me, listen, I told you this person was going to be great for this part, so you should hire them. We should hire them now. But so much of that has very little to do, as Alexis alluded to earlier, with the actual talent of the individuals. A lot of it was all of the different considerations that we had to take in mind. And the biggest thing for me was looking at the fact that we're producing a whole festival. We're producing 6 pieces instead of just one. And there were a lot of times when I know I personally, keep it in the eye, when I personally would get frustrated because I wanted one thing, but the situation of the festival kind of dictated something else.
I just would like to chime in here and kind of talk about some of the things that you've started saying, John. So I just want to make another point of bringing out, that John and I are 2 different people. And this is also what happens in audition rooms, right? If you're going in for a musical, you have the director, you have the choreographer, and you have the musical director, for example. When you're going in for the play, or plus the casting, plus the producers. When you're going in for a play, you might have the playwright, you might have the director in there, you might have the producer. The director and the producer may be the same person, they may not. I bring this up again just to reiterate that when most of the time when someone would come into the room, John and I would have very different initial reactions. Like 99% of the time, we were looking at things completely differently. And then based on what the actor brought in, then those things would shift. As John said, most of the time I was right. Or at least there would be an interest to see maybe let me rephrase this. One of the things that's true when you go out and you become a working actor is that the script itself has less to do with casting than who you are. It's just another way of saying what I said before. And I say this to mean also that there were times in our audition process where someone would come in, they would be auditioning for a certain play, right? But then based on what they did in the room, it caused myself or John or both of us to pivot and to say, like, I really like this person. I don't know if they're right for the thing that they were called in for, but let's see if they can stick around. Let's give them this other side and see if they can hang out and then come back and read something different. So when we're talking about finding where the role is inside of you, it's saying that there's going to be doors that can open for you just based off of what you bring to a role, whether you think you're right for it or not. Your take, you as the creative person that you are, could create a response that would open up a door that you didn't even know was there, like an invisible door. And that's something that's just like really important to know, as well as I feel like, John, you and I took a lot more time than you would normally get in an audition process. And a lot of that was, to speak to the Zoom room audition, because we did do everything in a Zoom room, is that we made sure that we had a Zoom green room area so that, when actors came in, they were met, by Cameron Blackwell, who is our amazing managing theatrical apprentice. And he greeted them, he got their information, he kind of told them what was going on, where we were, what time was looking like. And then when we were ready, sorry, we just got a note in the chat. When we were ready for the actor to come in, then we notified Cam via a message, and then he let them know you're on deck. And then when they were ready, we brought them in. So we tried to emulate a real life scenario as much as possible. Imagine, I guess, in New York, I'm not sure what they have in Detroit as far as a like rehearsal space, a rehearsal area. But if you're in New York City and you're auditioning at Ripley Greer or at Pearl, for example, you would come in and there would be like the room, the waiting area room, or you'd be waiting in the hall with the other actors. You know, you could chop it up with them, talk to them, see what they're doing, or you could be to yourself. And so the same environment was created in our rehearsal process.
Yeah. And in Detroit, it's similar too. I know in Detroit and Midwestern cities a lot, there are more seasonal auditions. So if you're in Detroit, maybe Detroit Public Theater has all their auditions for the entire season at one time. The Detroit Repertory Theater might do something similar. Goodman in Chicago. So you're in this room and everybody's auditioning as a result for 3 or 4 parts potentially at once. One of the things that I'm really, if I can say this, proud of ourselves for is the fact that we did take that extra time. And I think it's important because there were so many times when I would go into a room and I would audition, and whether I booked the gig or didn't, I remember saying to myself, I wish I just knew. I wish they just told me what they wanted or what they were trying to get, or didn't treat me like I wasn't capable of understanding that. And I think far too often, as an actor, I far too often as an actor can get inside my own head and wonder, well, what did I do or what didn't I do? And in a lot of ways, and Alexa said this earlier, acting is the primary job. That's the one thing that you have to end up focused on. Sorry, auditioning is the primary job that you have to end up being focused on. And so one thing that we really made an effort to do is spend those extra few moments with the actors as they came in the room. And in those moments, we discovered so much about who they were as individuals. I was having a conversation with Niles Fitch from This Is Us last week, which went up on our educational programming, and you can still see that archival footage. And he talks about the audition really being networking and being relationship building and being able to walk into that room and be who you are and be settled in yourself. And that being so much more important than anything else.
For sure. Faux shizzle. So also one of the reasons that, like, to tag on to that, you know, because I think coming from an acting background ourselves, you know, we understand that what's most important is, especially in times like this, which are strange for everyone, whether you're an actor or just a person. I guess actors are people, but I kind of feel like we're not people. I don't know. Anyway,
we're different people.
We're different people.
Yep.
What was really important was to make sure that people were comfortable, that they felt as much at ease as possible. So one of the things that we did in the audition process was say things like, we are on Zoom. We know this is weird. You can change your view to gallery. You can put it to speaker view. You can pin your reader if you'd like to. Just be the most comfortable, ground yourself, anchor yourself, however it is that you need to. Can you hear the train? Is it like really loud?
No,
Okay,
I think yeah.
great. And that was really cool. And I feel like there was a trust that was built because also casting, we genuinely want you to be great. Like, we really do.
If for no other reason, the fact that we don't want to be casting anymore. Like, I don't want to do that anymore. So I really hope you're the person that's amazing.
Now, with that being said, if you don't get cast, just to reiterate again, it does not mean that you're not amazing. It just means that you weren't a fit for what we had to put together in the puzzle that was the festival. So if you are someone who auditioned out there for us and you were not able to work in one of the shows this year, we encourage you to come back. We encourage you to keep building your relationship with us, because as artists, we're always growing and evolving. And just know that we are on your side. That literally we want you to be the best that you possibly can, and will do and have done and did everything in our power to to continue to help cultivate you, right? Because, as I said, artists are always growing. And I think as part of the Sister Cities program, one of the goals of the festival is education, is developing talent, is equitable access to resources. And therefore, it's not surprising that that was something that we did in the auditions themselves.
Yeah, I think it was also interesting for me to think about the number of actors that were surprised by the way that we ran our auditions. And I think there's a common fallacy out there, right? And it goes kind of hand in hand with the show must go on mentality that to be an actor, you have to be used to getting abused. You have to be comfortable with people talking to you any kind of way, or, saying things to you about your physical appearance that could be in any other circle deemed insulting. And, one of the things that we're really trying to do with this festival, but just I think also as life and as people, is dispel that idea that it's completely possible to be a person and to care about somebody and to care about an artist and still go about the business side of the show. Lex, I'm curious, what were some of the things that frustrated you about casting? What were some of the things that you were like, why does this keep on getting in my way? Why can't I, if I could get rid of this, then everything would be amazing.
Amazing. There it is again. What frustrated me about casting? I think one of the things that frustrated me was, and just like keeping it 100, folks, was because especially we were really wanting to create an environment where people could evolve with notes and work with actors. It was frustrating for me when there just wasn't the flexibility in the artist, which is a lot of that is just like technique and training and being used to being able to adjust instead of being locked into the way that I decided to come into the room and the choice that I decided to make. But truly, that skill, being able to take a note, understand it, digest it, if you don't understand it, to ask a clarifying question, which I really appreciated from artists, when they came in and like either you or I, John, would give an adjustment. Because again, there's no good or bad. There's no right or wrong. It's just different. When someone, once that adjustment was given, if they would say, we said, do you have any questions? They say, actually, yes. When you said this, did you mean X, Y, and Z, or did you meant, Y, T, F? And it's like, okay, well, if it was me, I probably meant YTF. And if it was John, he probably meant XYZ. But thank you for asking. Here's further clarification. Does that make sense? And then to see the artist digest that information and let it inform them was so helpful. And when they were not able to digest that information, whether it was because of nervousness or of being stuck in a way of doing it, it was very frustrating because I was like, I know that there's more inside of you and I want you to give it to us because I want to hire you for this job.
Let's break that down a little bit because I feel like there are going to be some people that are watching that are in the business at least a little bit and understand that. If you've never been in an audition room at all, what can tend to happen sometimes that you give me a side, you give me a portion of a script, right? 1 or 2 pages from a scene. And as I'm preparing for that, I might make the choice as an actor to go through and say, well, I'm going to say the line this way. And I'm going to say the line with this inflection. Well, when you do that, you are making a decision about how you feel, about how your character feels. And more than that, you're also making a decision about the other person in the scene, right? So if it's a 2-person scene and you're having a conversation and you decide that you're going to say the lines in one way, then that also means you're deciding that the other person in the scene is going to say the lines in a particular way as well. That can be troublesome when you walk into a room and there's a reader, whether it's Alexis or myself, and it was usually Alexis because she's better, and and they don't know what you decided. You don't have a conversation with them and say, hey, could you read the line this way? Because I really think that she would say this in this manner. Alexis is her own person. and she's going to come with her own set of experiences. She's going to read that script and decide based upon like how she's feeling in that moment and what she's getting from you, how that is going to play out. And so the lack of flexibility that can sometimes occur is when an actor decides kind of myopically, right? Like with a
yeah, myopic. What? Can you just say what that
yeah,
means?
myopic, right? So you're just kind of singularly focused with no flexibility. Like it's like a horse with blinders on. For any of you racing fans out there, I have family in Louisville, so the Derby, right? But what that does is it makes you kind of rigid. And as an actor, it means that you're not open and receptive to different choices. You can't receive what somebody is saying. If all acting is listening, then all acting is also reacting, right? That's one thing that we learned freshman year of college. And the difficulty that Alexis was speaking to was when an actor would come in and they had all of their things scripted. They had all of their decisions lined up in advance. And that sometimes it was great because their decisions made sense with what we were thinking. Most of the time it wasn't, because it showed a lack of flexibility. And the actors that we love working with, that I love working with as a scene partner and as a director, are the ones that can move and can shift, that know who their character is, but know who they are, but are also open and flexible to the energy in the room.
I'm just going to tag on to that, Sean. So when we're talking about choices and like planning out beats or inflections, and being willing to adapt and adjust, I'll sometimes the adjustment. Well, John and I communicate in very different ways, as you can probably tell.
Right.
So imagine being in an audition room with both of us, and you'd probably be very confused.
I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry.
Hopefully, we tried our best to. Oh, that's my water. To make it as clear as possible. But a lot of times, for me, I am always interested in, and I feel like this is true of you too, John, but you would probably articulate it in a different way. I am interested in the most active choice. So sometimes an actor would come in and they would have a great choice, but there was one that was like a little bit going to push them to like really get into the nuance of the character, or the nuance of their relationship with the other person, or the nuance of the situation, because we didn't send them the full plays because for copywriting and legal reasons. So just giving them a bit more to chew on as far as like developing what that relationship, where they are in the moment. So for example, in one of the pieces, and this is something that I think is true as you go throughout a rehearsal process, what we're talking about now, kind of mining for more. What's underneath the layer where I'm at? Is there anything that I haven't thought about or discovered, unearthed, that would make my relationship more real, more tangible? Because in life, every single conversation that we have has a million things that are going on in the same conversation, right? There's a bunch of external factors, and there's also things internally, like what kind of day did I have? Do I have like pain in my back today? Because if I do, then that's going to change how I'm sitting. It's going to change how comfortable I am talking to you all right now. Do I feel good about my hair? Am I having a bad hair day? Little questions like that, they're going to influence, how the character is being in a specific moment, is living in the specific moment, is reacting in a specific moment. In one of the pieces, for example, there was a woman who, I guess I can't give it too much away, but she was in an amount of pain for the duration of the play. And then there were different moments when that pain would increase or spike. And so, just as an example, the question is, well, what does it feel like if you are always experiencing medium grade pain? Like consistently, how does that affect your body? How does that affect your reaction time and how you're able to interact with others? And then when it peaks, what does that feel like? If you're in middle grade pain all the time, and it's going to spike sometimes, how does that change, that knowledge, as opposed to not being in any pain and then having like a random spike here and then? So yes, that's like an example of an adjustment. and a kind of a thought process of going through that adjustment that you might encounter in an audition.
Yeah. Lex, we just had a question come through, wondering how our unique ways of approaching casting and acting affected our ability to make great choices for the piece, for the pieces. It's interesting because I don't know. I will say this: there were plenty of times when, because Alexis and I see things differently, and because we approach things differently, I'm fond of saying that we'll walk in, we'll look at the problem, we'll diagnose the problem, we'll see the same solution, and then we'll go in like opposite directions to try to get there. But I would learn a lot about an actor because she would give a note in one particular way, she would give an adjustment in one particular way, and that would allow me to see how that actor responded. And to see, okay, well, how do they listen and how do they communicate? And so much of directing is communicating. It's being able to understand how your actor, how your artists hear, and then also how they receive, and what the best way is for you to try to be able to communicate with them. I can think of a couple pieces where there was an actor that one of us really, really wanted to try to make work, because we could tell that there was something powerful inside of them, but it wasn't really working for that piece for whatever reason. And so as a result, we ended up pivoting and saying, well, how about we try to read you for this show over here, and see what that does to you. Sometimes it was just as simple as one of us reading with them instead of somebody else, right? Or me reading with them instead of Alexis, or Alexis reading with them instead of me, because that different stimuli of now there being a different person reading the same lines asks you as an artist to listen differently and to react differently. And the instances where one of us would read or the reader would change and the choices would stay the same, were the ones that we found more frustrating. The ones that we found more joyous and more exciting were the ones where we would come in and a reader would shift, and all of a sudden you'd see that person take off. You saw them listening in a different way. You saw their energy up in a different way. They were making the active choice, right? And so for those of you out there who might not be sure what that means, there are a variety of different choices that you're making in a scene. There are a variety of different ways that you can approach a particular character or a particular circumstance. What's 9.9 times out of 10 to be the most powerful on stage is the choice that is the most active, the choice where the stakes are the highest, the choice where there is the most at risk, that asks the most of you as an artist and of us then thereby as the audience. And those were the choices that we are really interested in.
Yes. I feel like you said a lot of things and I should have been taking notes so that I could appropriately respond. But I think, when you start talking about stakes, like, well, what does that mean?
Sure.
Well, objectives, tactics, those are all things that we encourage you to register for our master classes that are on Fridays. We have acting master classes, acting through song, as well as monologue coaching available at 6 p.m. for for tomorrow, Friday, and then the following 3 Fridays. And you'll learn a lot more about what that means. There's, as far as ways that John and I are different. I feel like John tends to speak more in technical language, like plot out, what are your beats? Whereas if somebody said that to me, I would be like, what is he talking about? Like, I know how to do it, but I don't think about it in that way. My process tends to be more of asking the question of like, what's happening here? Has something shifted? I tend to use a TV, like a acting on camera term, where's the turn or where's the shift, as opposed to where the beats are. And again, John and I look at the same scene. We'll do the same thing, but just in completely different ways, which is also just a testament for you out there who are tuning in. Again, just like there are many different types of acting technique, there's many different ways to approach the same thing, as long as your choices, or as long as I don't even like to say choices, because for me, it's more about being present in each moment and actively listening. And then whatever comes out of my mouth next is colored based on what I heard, who I am, where I'm coming from, what I want. So I'm making a choice, but I'm not making one choice for every time I read it with a different person, because it's going to change and it's going to shift because who I'm talking to changes. What I want from them may stay the same, but my tactic, how I'm going to get it, is going to be different depending on the energy that I'm being met with. So just, that was a lot. That was a lot of different information, but it's just stuff for you to think about as you are, given material, whether it's scenes or full plays or musicals, and you're looking at working things. Who am I? What do I want? Where am I? What just happened? What will I lose if I don't get what I want? And then what are the different ways that I could try to get what I want?
Right. So Alexis just talked about like what I would call the moment before, the tactics around, which is what, right. And the way that we communicate about things is different. But what's also interesting to point out is just as there are different ways for actors to approach things, there are different ways for directors to approach things as well. And both of us direct, and both of us have had to work with sometimes the same casts on the same piece. And that's where, our ability as directors to be able to listen and understand what the actors need is really important. And the actor's ability to be able to listen and understand how we're trying to communicate is really important. I also want to say, because we're getting ready to wrap up and we're going to move on to the next portion of tonight's activities.
John, we have 5 minutes.
I said in a moment, like we still have time.
Okay.
Yeah,
Great.
I wasn't stopping yet. I was saying as we start heading down that path, part of the goal of the Sister Cities program is to reach out to youth in specific, right? So if you're sitting out there and you are in high school or you are in college, you might be thinking about auditioning a very different way. If you're 16, 17, 18, you're thinking about auditioning for a college program. If you're 20, 21, and you're getting ready to come out of college, you're thinking about auditioning for a professional producing organization. In the same way that Alexis highlighted our classes on Fridays, I encourage everybody to come to our pipeline programming on Saturdays. Saturdays is where we're going to walk through different college programs. So for you high school students out there, you'll get an opportunity to think through these different college programs. Last week, it was Wayne State University. So you can understand like what scholarship opportunities there are, what they ask for when it comes to auditioning. And then we also, for you college students, have professional producing organizations. They're going to talk through the same thing, what they're looking for in fellowships, in residency programs, these types of opportunities for you. Go ahead.
Last Saturday, in addition to Wayne State, our producing organization was Red Mountain. So yes. Wayne State is in Detroit, Michigan. Red Mountain is part of our Sister Cities program, is in Birmingham, Alabama, which is another one of our sister cities.
Yep. And as we go through these next few weeks, we're going to continue to hit different college programs, different producing organizations, both in Detroit, in Birmingham, in Atlanta, in DC. And we encourage all of you in those areas, but also just across the country to be able to take advantage of those resources. One of the benefits of educational programming like this, and like programming that is being offered by other organizations, like our partner org, Black Theater United, is that it helps to connect individuals to resources. So as we're talking about this, and as you go and at 7:00, get the opportunity to watch the casting and color conversation that Alexis had with Destiny Lillian and Erica Hart, keep those questions in your mind, and think about who you are. One of the most important things I can say to any person auditioning, but a young person especially, is don't try to be anybody but yourself. The ability to just walk in that room and be exactly who you are is what we want to see when we're casting for Obsidian 21 or Obsidian 2022. And what we want to see as actors when we're reading with somebody, and as casting directors when you're looking for that new part. Being exactly who you are is probably the best piece of advice that I could give anybody walking into an audition room.
Facts. Well, guys, thank you for tuning in. I think John Sloan III wrapped that up very nicely, as I knew he would, with 3 minutes to go.
Do what I can.
So we're going to have, as John was saying, the part 2 of our barriers to entry, which is casting in color, with 2 Black female casting directors in the business, casting both theater and film. And we hope we're going to have our Saray, not our Saray, but Saray Daniels, who, Saray, that is, I'm saying your married name, aren't I? Is that right? You can just hop on it.
You can just come back.
She's
Don't be
messaging us
texting us in the chat. Just say hello.
Okay, well, since you just, insisted, here I am.
So Saray, me, John, and Saray are going to be here with you. Saray is brilliant, an amazing teacher, and she's been helping us design this curriculum for the Sister Cities program, as well as our creative career pipeline. And then we even have a professional development day for teachers in the 5th week on Friday, right? So she is like the lady. And also, I believe, I'm going to plug my mom right fast. My mom has also been collaborating with Saray.
Dr. Sims.
Dr. Sims, right? We out
amazing.
Here. We out here.
Yes. Quoting John, amazing.
Amazing. Amazing. So we've got some amazing resources coming up for you next. We've got some incredible creative career pipeline, say that 10 times fast on Saturdays. And we just really hope that you keep tuning in and coming back. I know that Saray, you're going to take us out at the end of the night. Do you want to say anything before we go to the next portion?
Sure. Yeah, no problem. While you all are enjoying the live content tonight, if you're thinking to yourself, that masterclass sounds pretty dope, just go and head to our website at obsidianfest.org and /education. You can click on it on the home screen. It'll be right there. The dates along with the information and button for you to register will be right there and available for you. And again, these classes are free, y'all. Free, $99. Okay. So please take advantage. In my years of being an educator, actor, all whatever you want to call whatever, I've never come across seriously the kind of content that we're offering for free. This type of content with the caliber of people that we have teaching you all and teaching our kids and our youth and our adults, you're not going to find this content for free. I'm telling you that.
No,
and I'm sure Alexis and John can attend to that. They are professional.
Fire. They are fire. So
and classes went so well last Friday. Week.
Yes.
I was going to say.
It was so good. Oh my gosh. We had Tiffany and Bravita, they rocked the house. Yes. So if you don't sign up, you're missing out. That's all I got to say. Sign up.
And to you parents out there that have questions and are concerned, because oftentimes it's the parents that are the ones that are saying, well, how is my kid going to make any money? Yeah. Right now, you have examples of people that make a living in the arts, that have careers in the arts. So I encourage you parents to come out and ask questions too. I encourage you parents to hit us up online, to go to our Facebook, to go to our Insta, to go to our website. We got an Insta now, y'all. We got an Insta and a Twitter. The social handles are popping up.
You're just old. Everybody has an Instagram.
You said that so aggressively.
But yes, we have all of the social media channels. I don't think we have a TikTok. I don't know if we don't have everything, but we have the basics. We have Instagram and Facebook. Do we have Twitter?
Listen, I just found out that people put words up on Instagram. I thought Instagram was just for pictures.
Instagram and Facebook, y'all. So please check us out. Don't hesitate to reach out with any questions and register for the classes and the creative career pipeline stuff. And also, in a couple weeks, we have a barriers to entry, which is what's following this conversation right now, called The Working Artist. So where you'll get to hear about how artists in a gig economy do make a living and are able to be successful and continue feeding their creative hearts and their dreams and their pockets. Because ramen noodles doesn't have
we don't work for free
content.
No, but that's a conversation that I'm actually really looking forward to, because it talks about arts and entrepreneurship and the ways that we as artists can take care of ourselves, can value ourselves financially, which is really important, and also like physically, mentally, spiritually. And so like that's something, again, for you parents out there that might be a little concerned about your child going into the arts.
Nobody is. Stop putting that into the universe.
I'm saying people ask questions.
I understand, but do y'all care about that out here that are listening to that right now? We have a sensitivity letter on the website. We have educational resources. We're using Zoom for all of our classes. We get
And
you.
private and password protected.
We are here for you. Please don't hesitate to reach out with any questions. Thank you for tuning in to our Backstage and Beyond Thursdays for the Sister Cities program. My name is Alexis Sims. I am the Associate Artistic Director, sitting here with.
And my name is John Sloan. I am the Producing Artistic Director for the Obsidian Theater Festival.
And
my name is Saray Daniels, the Arts Education Coordinator for the Obsidian Theater Festival. We did that good, y'all.
We are out here, y'all. We out here. We making things happen. We trying to make a difference, okay? So come get these resources. We're here for you. We hope to see you tomorrow.
And all right, fam, if you're watching on our website, then you're looking in one video player on the right side of your screen. On the left side of your screen, you're going to see a countdown. In about 60 seconds, the Barriers to Entry Part 2 conversation, hosted by the wonderful Ms. Alexis Sims, is going to premiere, featuring Destiny Lilly and Erica Hart, talking about casting in color. It's just an extension of the conversation we had tonight. We love y'all. We appreciate you. You are now officially part of the fam. Have a great rest of your evening.
Deuces.